Welcome back, radio entrepreneurs, listeners, and fans. I'm producer Jillian King, and I'm excited to introduce you all to part 2 of the Winter 2024 FBA Family Business Panel Discussion, What Does Success Look Like in 2025? Next, I will introduce our panelists and the moderator for this discussion. We are joined today by Stephen Wilchins, founding partner at Wilchins, Cosentino and Novins, Richard Hirschen, partner at Gray, Gray, Brian Nagle, co-founder of the Family Business Association and senior managing director at Citizens Private Wealth, Arthur Barrett, president of Barrett Distribution Centers, and Tim Barrett, chief operating officer and co-CEO of Barrett Distribution Centers. Welcome all. Last but not least, radio entrepreneurs, host, and founder of Mage LLC, Jeffrey Davis. Welcome, Jeffrey. I will now hand the conversation over to you.
And I just want to add something else because I'm really quite respectful of my panel. Steve Wilchins was the president of the Family Firm Institute. Rich Hirschen was the treasurer for the Family Business Association for many years. And Brian Nagle got into the trenches with me. It's probably over 15, almost close to 20 years ago, and helped create the Family Business Association. So I want to thank my panelists, their experience with families, and their continued dedication to promoting the success of family businesses. Welcome back, Tim and Arthur. I'm going to start with a question that I'm sure you're very prepared to answer. Most of us in business have never been perfect, except for Rich. And tell us a little bit about mistakes and failures that you may have made in business that have made you better prepared for today.
There's a lot. Wait. Yeah, it's a good question. Trying to come up with something that would be interesting to others. I think that one of the things that can happen, and we've certainly had it, we've encountered at our end is taking anybody for granted, right? So taking an employee for granted, taking a customer for granted. We've enjoyed a lot of success. We've had 30 straight years of double-digit growth, and so it's very easy when you experience that kind of success to take things for granted. And so we've definitely had situations where we assume that customers or employees are continuing to be happy with their role and with what we're doing for them and what they're doing for us, and come to find out that they're not. So I think that communication is a key thing there, and really just staying in touch and keeping a pulse on everybody that's important to you in life, right? Or your home life, your family. Same applies to work. So it's a mistake that I think we've done occasionally, and certainly learn from, for sure. So we focus, a ton on those relationships. We've built out a whole team now to just focus on the existing customer relationships, our strategic account management team. It's something that we didn't even have 7 or 8 years ago. We didn't have anybody in that role, and we got a whole team now that just focuses on those customers. So, in the same light, built out a whole, HR, a really robust HR team that is in every facility every day, and partnering with the ops teams to really focus in on our employee engagement and satisfaction, and really making sure we're taking care of everybody. So we don't have any business without either of those, right? Either of those constituencies, the employees or the customers. So super important.
Is there a component in what you answered, this is to both of you, just a follow-up, that you consider to be behind both of you, a sense of humility? Because that's what I pick up on, the sense of humility, that you don't take things for granted and you keep your eyes open and appreciate things. And I've noticed in business, when people lose sight of things, it's because they start to believe in their own headlines.
Yeah. I don't think that has ever described us. You use an interesting term, losing sight. So a lesson I learned very early on was not to take the business so seriously as to miss out on anything with my kids. And I think Tim has done the same. We both really got involved in all of our kids' activities. I have one son he's in law school now. Was never really an athletic kid. I couldn't really help him in his passion, which was theater and performing arts. But I certainly took a vested interest in his passion, and did my best, as Tim did as well, to stay involved in all of our kids' activities, particularly sports and coaching as many of those seasons as we could. Trying not to allow the business to create any meaningful sacrifice at home.
Turn it over to my panel. Any questions?
Many family businesses invest for the future. And I heard you mention earlier robotics within your business. With the economy digitizing and AI coming along with quantum computing on the horizon, are you looking more at operational focus on the business, or are you looking at new areas within the business, new segments that you can participate in that you're not currently or just beginning to?
Yeah, it's so we're always looking at new things that we could potentially offer to our customers. So we're very operationally focused. That's first and foremost, it's how we make our money. It's what our customers are turning to us for. So a lot of the investment is really in automation on the operating floor and really driving costs down. But by doing that, we have customers that we've operated essentially the same facility, the same business for years. And one customer in particular, we took $1 million of cost out last year.
Wow.
So it's really, those are really significant numbers. We have another that we took about $350,000 of cost out for last year. So, and I touched on that in the last segment, where, that is a driving force right now for our customers. It's front of mind, to drive costs out. And we're very fortunate that sometimes, I always talk about how we get, sometimes just opportunities that come our way, and you could say that's luck, you could say whatever it is, but I think one of the things we've done is we've leveraged them really, really well. And we didn't really know that we would need to do this, but we started on our lean journey about 5 years ago, and we started doing some really intensive training. We hired an engineering team to help us do it, and at the time, it wasn't really what customers were asking us for, but we just felt like it was the right way to go, that if we're going to be able to be successful long term, we've got to develop this skill set and this expertise. And in the last 18 months, it's paid off in spades, because we wouldn't, if we were trying to start that up 18 months ago, we really wouldn't be driving those kinds of savings in the past year. It took that long to get to the point where we could start to drive those kinds of savings. So it's super important. But yeah, and we're always looking at new things. So one of the things we've really invested in, and that we have a really, really talented team, is just our whole data and analytics team. So they're delivering all kinds of value now to our customers, giving them information about their business that they just don't have themselves internally, from cost to serve, either geographically or understanding that you may think you're selling the same way and selling the same products to Target and to Walmart, but your cost to serve one of those is much higher than the other because of the unique aspects of the way they order or what they might ask for, from you. So, yeah, we're always innovating. We're always trying to find more things that we can do to deliver value.
I think you're very well balanced and very thoughtful and sound in what you're doing. I guess the question that I would have is two things. One is, what are the challenges you see going forward? But more importantly, who challenges you going forward?
You're both married, right?
What's that?
You're both married.
There's a lot of challenge there for sure. Yeah. Yeah, but so our employees challenge us, actually. So our senior management team challenges us a lot, and it's great. We have, you guys touched on that, you think we have a great relationship. We have a great relationship with our senior team. We have a senior team of about 15 people, and it is it's a really cohesive team that works really, really well together, and we push each other and they push each other. It's fantastic. Yeah, that's a huge part of our success. And, we've always believed in investing in people. And I've said this for 30 years that we've never really shied away from hiring anybody. We never said like, boy, we can't afford to hire that person. We always felt like if whatever their salary is, we hire them, they should pay for themselves. And we found that to be true. So we invest in people, and they've helped us get to where we are for sure.
Jeffrey actually gave us some guidance along those lines probably 12 years ago when we hired somebody at a very high level into the organization for the first time. And Jeffrey was very helpful to us in evaluating that opportunity and then pulling the trigger. Wow. As far as challenges, I would say that our customers challenge us more so today than ever to lower our costs, and we've had a lot of success going back to the customer and saying we can make this investment in our business. It's really an investment in your business, but we need a longer runway in order to get a return on that investment, and so. We do a good job of trading price for term, and so we'll lower the cost per unit to serve in return for an extension of the contract that allows us to make that investment.
Very nice.
You mentioned some good advice, or I guess you actually just said advice that Jeffrey had given you. How have you used, or how important have consultants and advisors been for the company over the years?
Yeah, we leverage those relationships quite a bit. A lot of that comes from trying to pick the best in class advisors that we can find, whether that's the real estate broker that we use in a particular geography. We don't single source those decisions. Usually we try to find the best industrial broker in Memphis or the best industrial broker in Dallas, wherever we're expanding, and then leverage the relationship with that person to help us find other tier one top-notch providers. We do the same with our insurance advisors. We look to have the best property and casualty broker in the region, the best benefits broker in the region. And, we don't always marry the two because we feel like those are two very different skill sets and advisory opportunities. So, and then, we hire consulting type advisors from time to time as well, usually very focused on a very particular opportunity, so that they have a keen interest in helping us make a informed and successful decision in whatever is the challenge that we're facing at that time.
Arthur, does your key people act as your board of advisors? And the second question is, could we have your P&C guy? I'm sure your insurance has gone down, your rates, right?
That has not happened, but we've developed strategies to mitigate the increase in rate. So give you an example, we spend six figures on general liability. We haven't had a GL claim in over 12 years. So we bet on ourselves with this year's renewal, and we took on a very high deductible on the GL renewal in order to drive down the rate per 100 on that. The advisors I just described, those are ad hoc advisors for particular issues. We have a separate board of advisors, a formal board of advisors, one that we formed about 6 years ago, and that board has been really, really helpful. One of the first recommendations was for us to embark on that lean journey 5 or 6 years ago, and that was really sound advice, and has been a tremendous payback.
You know, because you mentioned board of advisors, I think that's very interesting for other families. Maybe you want to give us a sense of how you sort of populated it, but also what I find with some boards of advisors, and again, Brian and I did a lot of that work at the FBA, friends versus non-friends, and then there's also the issue of reviews, and a lot of boards of advisors don't get into the review process, and so it becomes a little stale over time. So I'm wondering if those two were different issues that you've built into your structure. Well,
our board is very small. We started with just 2 outside advisors, in addition to, so it's basically a team of 6, 2 outside, Tim and I, and then our CFO and our senior VP.
And what's the background of the 2?
They were, very successful leaders in our industry. One sold his business to FedEx 8 or 10 years ago, and the other did a lot of private equity financing and several rounds of private equity investment. And then he eventually exited that business when it was acquired by a French company. So a couple of CEOs, retired CEOs, who were running much, much larger 3PL organizations than ours. And, we were looking for that kind of experience to help take us at the time, from 100 million to 500 million is, our target, our next target.
And are they people in a family business? Do you expect to pay for that advice as a board member? Or is that something because they're doing it as a friendship to you?
Oh, no, we pay them.
We pay.
Yeah.
Not enough, probably.
Yeah.
We get more value out of it than we pay them. I can guarantee you that.
We pay them more than others in our industry pay their advisory members, but it's a lot less than money that would be meaningful to them, but it's enough money that they take it seriously.
You have a fixed structure of how many times a year you meet?
It's probably unusual. We have a monthly 1 to 2 hour call, and then a quarterly half-day meeting.
Very good. I'm glad you gave that structure. I think that's helpful for a lot of families.
Yeah.
And the research would back you up that the frequency helps.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
That was actually their recommendation. So that's another departure from what most in our industry do. Most just have the quarterly meeting, and there are many in our industry where the role of the board is to keep the non employed family members at bay and content.
There seems to be a theme of a relentless focus on talent, internal and external, and it's certainly served you well.
It sure has, yeah.
You can see our producer, Jillian King, is back, and that means we're at the end of our second segment. And so I'll turn it over to her. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone, for that compelling discussion about what makes a family business thrive. That wraps up part 2 of this winter 2024 FBA Family Business panel discussion. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers who have tuned in for this panel. Links will be provided in the video's description below to part 1 if you didn't already hear it, and to part 3 of the discussion to hear more on these topics. And if you're a fan of our videos, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and press that bell button. And for more on the topic, tune in to our continuing series on family business success. Radio Entrepreneurs is also active on LinkedIn, so follow our page there as well for more business advice and riveting business discussions all year round. Until next time, goodbye and thanks for listening. We'll be back with more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.